What if the secret to ultimate influence, unshakable confidence, and unstoppable success was hidden in 500 years of ruthless power struggles? What if there were exact rules that history's most powerful leaders followed, and you could too? Welcome to Zuzu, the book reader. Today we break down Robert Greene's explosive masterpiece, The 48 Laws of Power. From cunning kings to deceptive diplomats, these laws have governed boardrooms and battlefields alike. Get ready to learn how one man used the stars to gain royal favor, how another threw a party so lavish he ended up in prison, and why too much honesty can destroy you. Here are 3 reasons to stay till the end. Discover why making others feel smarter than you is a power move. Learn why surrendering might be the most strategic thing you ever do. Understand how unpredictability can become your strongest weapon. Let's dive into the first law. Chapter 1. Law 1. Never outshine the master. Nicolas Fouquet was one of the wealthiest men in France, serving as the finance minister under King Louis XIV. To win favor with the king, Fouquet threw the most extravagant party France had ever seen. There were fireworks, custom-composed music, endless banquets, and even a theatrical performance by Molière himself. But rather than impress the king, Fouquet unintentionally made Louis XIV feel insecure, outshined, and overshadowed. Days later, Fouquet was arrested and spent the rest of his life in solitary confinement. Contrast that with Galileo Galilei, who cleverly dedicated his discovery of Jupiter's moons to the powerful Medici family, comparing the 4 moons to the 4 Medici suns. Rather than outshining them, he made them look like cosmic royalty. In return, Galileo was rewarded with a lifetime salary and a secure position. The takeaway? Powerful people want to feel superior. Never make them feel small or threatened. Instead, elevate them. Make them feel like the center of the universe. By doing so, you remain indispensable. Ask yourself, in trying to impress someone above you, are you making them feel inferior? Before we continue, if you're serious about building a life of power, freedom, and income on your own terms, check out the Entrepreneur's Launch Kit, a practical guide to making your first $10,000. This digital kit is packed with high-income, step-by-step tutorials to get you started fast. Launch your digital product biz in 7 days. Faceless YouTube, $1,000 per month in 30 days. Start your AI marketing agency for $0. Get 5 high-ticket clients in 14 days. Design like a pro with Canva in 2 hours. Build your personal brand in 7 days. Master ChatGPT with 100 prompts in 7 days land. Your first freelance client in 48 hours. Grow to 10K Instagram. Followers in 30 days. Reach 100K. YouTube subscribers in 90 days. Start a profitable Etsy shop in 7 days. These aren't just dreams. People are already hitting these numbers daily. So can you, if you start today. Download your copy now using the link in the description, pinned comment, or bio. Back to the laws of power. Chapter 2. Never put too much trust in friends. Learn how to use enemies. So you've got friends? They know your secrets, your weaknesses, your dreams. They're always around and usually have your back. Sounds safe, right? Not quite. According to Robert Greene, it's often your friends who are the first to betray you. In this law, Greene urges us to think beyond blind loyalty. We often assume that because someone is a friend, they'll be reliable in all circumstances. But the truth is, when emotions, jealousy, or ego come into play, friendship can sour quickly. The people who know you the best are also the ones who can hurt you the most. Greene tells the story of Michael III, a Byzantine emperor who placed his complete trust in his childhood friend Basil. Michael made Basil his second in command, elevated him to power, and treated him like a brother. But Basil, hungry for more, eventually murdered Michael and took the throne for himself. Greene uses this chilling betrayal to show how dangerous it is to assume friends are always safe. What about enemies? Here's where the lesson turns upside down. Greene argues that former enemies often make the most loyal allies, once you've earned their trust. Why? Because they have something to prove. They're often more cautious, more respectful of the opportunity you've given them, and more motivated to show they've changed. Instead of always relying on friendship, Greene suggests hiring or allying with someone who has something at stake, someone who must prove their loyalty through actions, not just words or shared history. What makes this law powerful is how it shifts our thinking. Instead of assuming the worst from outsiders and trusting only those closest to us, Greene teaches that loyalty is not about past connections. It's about incentives, interests, and proven behavior. So next time you're deciding who to trust in business, leadership, or even life decisions, don't ask, "Who's my friend?" Ask, "Who has something to lose if they betray me?" That shift could save you from disaster. Now here's a thought. Have you ever been betrayed by someone you considered a close friend? Or maybe given a chance to someone you once considered an enemy? How did it turn out? Let me know. Chapter 3. Conceal your intentions. If people knew your true plans, your dreams, your goals, your secret moves, they'd find ways to stop you, compete with you, or simply copy your idea. That's why Greene says, conceal your intentions. This law is rooted in human psychology. People are naturally suspicious. When they sense you're being too transparent, they start asking, "What's the catch?" Greene argues that by revealing too much, you open yourself up to resistance, sabotage, or premature judgment. A historical example comes from Otto von Bismarck, the 19th century statesman who united Germany. Bismarck was a master of misdirection. He made people think he was chasing one policy or alliance, while secretly working toward another. As a result, he stayed several steps ahead of his rivals. They only realized what he was doing once it was too late. The key lesson? When people can't read your next move, they can't stop it. On the other hand, look at those who are too open. They might get admiration for their honesty in the short term, but they rarely achieve power. Why? Because they give away their strategy. They invite opposition and competition before they're strong enough to win. Greene recommends guiding people down a false path. Distract them. Misdirect their attention. Act as if you're interested in one thing when your real aim is something else entirely. Let them follow the trail you've laid out, while you quietly build your next move elsewhere. And this isn't about being evil or manipulative. It's about being smart. The world is full of noise, competition, and scrutiny. When you share everything, you give up control. When you stay quiet and intentional, you shape outcomes without alerting the crowd. Here's something to think about. Are you revealing too much about your next move? Or are you quietly setting things in motion while others are distracted by the obvious? Chapter 4. Always say less than necessary. Words have power, but too many of them can backfire. In Law 4, Robert Greene warns, the more you say, the more likely you are to say something foolish, give away your intentions, or weaken your position. Silence, or at least restraint, is often the more strategic choice. In the royal courts of old, especially in places like ancient China or Renaissance France, a single misplaced word could cost you your fortune or your life. The wisest courtiers knew this. They learned to speak only when needed and never more than necessary. Greene brings up the example of Louis XIV, who was famous for his economy of words. His short, deliberate responses gave him an aura of control and mystery. Ministers and nobles would hang on to his every word, reading between the lines. That silence wasn't emptiness, it was dominance. Contrast that with people who talk too much. The more you speak, the more ordinary you appear. You give others room to analyze, dissect, and find fault. You invite rebuttals, you expose your thought process, and once people know how you think, they can counter you. Saying less creates power. It creates tension. It draws people in. Just like a cliffhanger in a story keeps viewers hooked, controlled speech keeps people intrigued. They wonder what you're thinking. That mystery becomes leverage. Greene's advice is clear: master the art of brevity. When you do speak, make every word count. Let your silence suggest confidence, not insecurity. So before you explain too much in a meeting or defend yourself endlessly in a debate, pause. Ask yourself, would saying less actually say more? Chapter 5. So much depends on reputation. Guard it with your life. Power is perception, and your reputation is the lens through which others view you. In this law, Greene emphasizes that your reputation is your most valuable asset. It can open doors or close them. It can earn you respect or make you vulnerable to attack. The example Greene shares is that of Caesar Borgia, a Renaissance leader known for his brutal tactics and fearsome image. But Borgia wasn't reckless. He carefully crafted his reputation as someone not to be crossed. It made his enemies think twice before opposing him. His reputation did half the work before he even entered a room. In contrast, Greene warns that a damaged reputation is like a cracked foundation. Once your name is associated with weakness, dishonesty, or incompetence, it becomes nearly impossible to change public opinion. People begin to define you by your worst moment, not your best. So what's the strategy? Be vigilant. Protect your name like it's gold. If someone tries to tarnish it, respond swiftly and strategically. Never let slander or rumors go unchallenged. At the same time, proactively build a reputation for excellence. Let others talk about your strengths before you even arrive. Another tool? Association. Align yourself with powerful, respected individuals. Their glow will reflect on you. Just like being seen with a trusted brand makes people trust you more, being around people with good reputations strengthens yours. Reputation is your invisible armor. Once it's strong, you won't need to fight every battle. Your name alone will command respect, open opportunities, and protect you from hidden attacks. Take a moment and think, what do people associate with your name? And what steps can you take today to strengthen your reputation before someone else defines it for you? Chapter 6. Court attention at all costs. In a noisy world, being invisible is the same as being powerless. Robert Greene's sixth law is loud and clear. If you want influence, you must court attention, at all costs. Greene explains that attention equals currency. Without it, your talents go unnoticed, your value gets ignored, and your power fades. But when you draw attention, smartly and strategically, you shape how others perceive you, control the narrative, and command influence. He shares the story of P.T. Barnum, the legendary American showman who understood that even controversy was better than obscurity. Barnum once exhibited a man he called the Fiji mermaid, a grotesque mix of monkey and fish stitched together. Was it real? Of course not. But it grabbed headlines. Crowds poured in, and Barnum laughed his way to the bank. He knew that outrage sparked interest, and interest created power. This doesn't mean you have to be scandalous, but it does mean you must be bold, unique, and impossible to ignore. Dress differently, speak differently, market yourself like you matter, because you do. If you blend in, you disappear. Greene also points out that attention doesn't have to come from what you say. It can come from what you do not say. Silence, mystery, and elegance can draw attention just as effectively as shock and spectacle. The key is intention. You don't stumble into power, you create moments that pull focus. There's also a warning here: if you don't control your attention, someone else will. The media, your competitors, or your critics will define your story for you. That's why you must stay on offense. Use attention as a sword, not just a shield. Ask yourself this: are you actively shaping how the world sees you, or are you waiting for someone else to decide your value? Power begins when you stop hiding. Chapter 7. Get others to do the work for you, but always take the credit. Time is limited. Energy is finite. But results? Those can be multiplied if you master this next law. Greene says, don't do everything yourself. Get others to do the work, then take the credit. It sounds ruthless, but in the world of power, it's strategic. Throughout history, kings, emperors, and moguls have relied on advisors, experts, and skilled subordinates to do the heavy lifting, while keeping the spotlight for themselves. Take Thomas Edison, for example. While the world remembers him as the father of the light bulb, it was actually his team of researchers, especially a man named Nikola Tesla, who did most of the innovative work. But Edison was the brand, the face, the name the public remembered. He used the work of others to build a legendary reputation. Greene doesn't suggest stealing credit blindly or disrespecting others' efforts. Instead, he encourages strategic positioning. Surround yourself with talent. Hire people smarter than you. Let them solve the problems while you craft the narrative and collect the rewards. It's not about being lazy, it's about scale. When you try to do everything yourself, you limit your impact. When you leverage the brilliance of others, you multiply your power. But here's the catch. You must be seen as the source of the ideas, the vision, the success. Don't fade into the background while others get the spotlight. Position yourself as the orchestrator, the one who brings it all together. This law also serves as a reminder. Protect your own work. Just as you might rise by using others' contributions, someone else could do the same to you if you're not careful. Document your efforts. Make your influence visible. So think about this. Are you trying to do everything alone? Or are you building a team, a network, a system that lets you scale your impact while still owning the credit? Chapter 8. Make other people come to you. Use bait if necessary. Power is lost when you chase. Greene's 8th law is about flipping the dynamic. Never pursue. Instead, attract. Make others come to you, and if they won't, use bait. When you're the one doing all the chasing of people, deals, opportunities, you appear needy, desperate, or weak. But when you create a situation where others must come to you, the balance shifts. You gain control. A prime example of this is in ancient Chinese warfare. The great strategist Zuzu would often provoke enemies into attacking first. Instead of charging ahead blindly, he would feign weakness or leave an opening that seemed too tempting to resist. Once the enemy advanced, Sun Tzu would strike with precision, using their eagerness against them. This principle applies beyond battlefields. In business, dating, negotiation, and leadership, those who set the terms win. When others come to your turf, follow your lead, or respond to your offer, you control the tempo and the tone. But how do you make them come to you? You use bait. That might mean offering something they want: exclusivity, value, insight, access, or even the illusion of opportunity. The key is to never reveal how badly you want their attention. The more others feel they're choosing you, the more power you gain. Think of successful entrepreneurs. They don't beg for attention. They create magnetic brands, irresistible offers, or intriguing personas that pull people in. Their success is not in the chase, it's in the attraction. Greene warns, don't mistake passivity for power. This law isn't about doing nothing. It's about strategic positioning. You still act, but in a way that lures others into your zone of control. Ask yourself this: are you always initiating, always giving chase? Or are you building leverage, positioning yourself so that people seek you out? Chapter 9. Win through your actions, never through argument. Words are wind. Power lies in what people can see and feel, not in what you insist is true. That's the heart of Law 9. Greene tells us, never waste energy trying to convince others through argument. Instead, let your actions speak. Why? Because arguments rarely change minds. People get defensive. They dig in. Even if you win the debate, you've made the other person feel small, embarrassed, or attacked. And when ego is wounded, retaliation often follows. Instead, Greene says to act. Prove your point by producing results. Demonstrate value by doing something undeniable. Actions are harder to dismiss. They bypass resistance and appeal directly to results-driven minds. Take the story of Galileo again. Rather than arguing about the movement of the planets, he designed a telescope, and showed people what they couldn't deny. He didn't just say the earth wasn't the center, he proved it by letting others see it for themselves. His evidence was stronger than any speech could have been. This law is also about style. People remember how you made them feel, not how well you debated them. If you win with grace, through demonstration, you earn respect. But if you win with words, you often make enemies. Greene isn't saying never speak up. He's saying don't rely on words alone, and never get dragged into long, petty debates when results will silence the noise. If you want to lead, impress, or persuade, let your wins be visible. Let your impact do the talking. So next time you feel the urge to argue your worth, your point, or your idea, pause. Ask yourself, what action can I take to show them instead? Chapter 10. Infection. Avoid the unhappy and unlucky. Energy is contagious. According to Robert Greene's 10th law, surrounding yourself with the wrong people, those who constantly suffer, complain, or fail, can quietly infect your success. Greene doesn't suggest abandoning people for being in pain. What he warns against is a particular type of individual, the chronically negative, the perpetually unlucky, the emotionally draining. These people don't just face hardship, they spread it. Their worldview, decisions, and habits draw misfortune and create chaos. And if you stay too close, you absorb it. He tells the story of Lola Montez, a 19th century dancer who captivated powerful men but left behind a trail of destruction. Kings, poets, and politicians fell for her charm, only to watch their fortunes and reputations crumble. It wasn't just bad luck, it was a pattern. And patterns are the warning signs of infection. Greene urges us to judge people not by their intentions, but by the effects they have. Do they lift you up or weigh you down? Do they attract good fortune or stir drama and crisis? This law is about protecting your energy, your clarity, and your path. Just as a healthy body avoids sickness, a powerful life avoids toxic relationships. And just as you seek mentors who uplift and inspire, you must distance yourself from those who drain and distract. This doesn't mean you lack compassion. It means you choose wisely where to invest your energy. Sometimes the most powerful move is walking away. Take a moment to reflect. Who in your circle energizes you? Who constantly drains you? Your environment shapes your power, so choose it with intention. Chapter 11. Learn to keep people dependent on you. If people don't need you, they can walk away. And if they can walk away, you have no power. That's the cold truth behind Law 11. Greene says, make yourself so valuable that others cannot function without you. This isn't about manipulation. It's about creating leverage. Power comes from dependency. When others rely on you for information, access, resources, or skill, they're less likely to turn on you. In fact, they'll protect you, not out of loyalty, but out of self-interest. Greene highlights the story of Cardinal Richelieu, a French clergyman who rose to dominate the politics of his time. Rather than making the king stronger, Richelieu made himself essential. He built networks of spies, controlled the flow of information, and positioned himself as the only one who could manage the complexity of the kingdom. The king needed him, and that need was Richelieu's greatest power. This law challenges the idea of independence. Many people aim to be self-sufficient. Greene flips that. True power comes not from needing no one, but from others needing you. Think about indispensable employees, partners, or consultants. They're the ones who always have leverage. So how do you create this dependency? Specialize in something valuable. Solve problems others can't. Become the gatekeeper to something people want. Make it so they hesitate to make a move without checking with you first. But here's the caution. Don't let others see how replaceable you are. If you teach everyone everything you know too soon, or make yourself too accessible, you reduce your own advantage. Share just enough to help, but hold on to the core of what makes you necessary. Ask yourself now, in your business, your job, your relationships, what do you control? What do others rely on you for? And how can you increase that value without giving too much away? Power isn't about dominance. It's about being needed. If you want to stay essential, make yourself irreplaceable. Chapter 12. Use selective honesty and generosity to disarm your victim. Greene's 12th law reveals a surprising truth. A single act of honesty can cover 100 deceptions. When used with precision, selective honesty becomes a powerful tool to lower defenses, build trust, and open doors. Humans are wired to seek truth. So when you offer a moment of raw, genuine honesty or an unexpected gesture of generosity, people drop their guard. They see you as trustworthy, kind, and transparent. But that's exactly when your power multiplies. One of Greene's key examples is the con artist who begins his scam with a small, honest act, perhaps returning a lost wallet or confessing a minor mistake. The victim, now relaxed and trusting, becomes vulnerable to the larger con that follows. It's not the deception that sets the trap, it's the trust earned first. This principle isn't just for con men. In business, relationships, and negotiation, showing vulnerability or offering unexpected generosity can transform the dynamic. A sincere compliment, a helpful favor, or a small sacrifice shows humility and creates goodwill. That goodwill then buys you influence. But the key word here is selective. Greene warns against being overly honest or overly generous. Too much, and people will start to take advantage or grow suspicious. The power lies in contrast. One honest move, used at the right time, shines brighter than constant openness. It's also a great way to recover from a mistake. Instead of hiding an error, openly admit it before someone else exposes it. This not only builds credibility, it gives you control over the narrative. Ultimately, people remember how you made them feel. A timely act of generosity or a moment of truth creates emotional memory. It disarms critics, softens enemies, and bonds allies. Think about this. When was the last time you used honesty not just to reveal, but to influence? Power doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers with a gift or a confession. Chapter 13. When asking for help, appeal to people's self-interest. People aren't moved by your problems. They're moved by their own interests. Greene's 13th law is about getting others to help you, not by guilt or loyalty, but by showing them what's in it for them. Greene says the biggest mistake people make when asking for help is appealing to emotions, morality, or past favors. It might work once, but it builds resentment. Instead, the smart strategist appeals to self-interest. Make your request seem like a win for them, not just a favor for you. Take the story of the great statesman Bismarck. Rather than begging his rivals to support his policies, he framed them in a way that aligned with their ambitions. He didn't say, "Support me because it's right." He said, "Support this because it will secure your power." That's persuasion rooted in reality. Greene also brings up Benjamin Franklin, who once won over an enemy by asking to borrow a rare book. The request made the man feel important. Later, when Franklin returned the book, the man felt flattered and respected, and their relationship changed. Franklin didn't beg. He made the man feel valuable. This law isn't about trickery. It's about understanding human nature. Everyone is tuned to the same frequency. What's in it for me? Speak to that, and you gain influence. So when you need support, don't emphasize your need, emphasize the reward. Will they gain recognition, money, influence, favor? Frame your ask as a mutual benefit, not a one-sided plea. Greene also warns, avoid guilt-tripping or emotional blackmail. These tactics might yield short-term results but destroy trust long-term. Self-interest, when used correctly, is a more durable path to cooperation. So ask yourself this: when you seek help, are you making it about you or about them? Real power comes when others want to help you, because it serves their purpose too. Chapter 14. Pose as a friend. Work as a spy. Information is power, and the best way to get it is by blending in, not standing out. Greene's 14th law reveals a quiet but lethal strategy. Appear friendly while secretly gathering intelligence. When people think you're a friend, they drop their guard. They share secrets, reveal insecurities, and speak without filters. That's when you listen, not just to words, but to patterns, motives, and weak spots. Take Cardinal Richelieu again, one of Greene's favorite historical figures. He didn't build power by shouting orders. He built it by infiltrating salons, befriending influencers, and planting informants. He collected knowledge silently, then used it precisely, striking at just the right moment. This law is not about betrayal, it's about preparation. By understanding people's desires, fears, and weaknesses, you gain control of the playing field. You can predict moves before they happen, and adjust your strategy accordingly. Greene offers a warning too. If you ask too many direct questions, you'll trigger suspicion. Instead, share a little about yourself. Act vulnerable. People are more likely to open up when they feel they're not being interrogated. Use empathy as a mask and curiosity as your weapon. Even casual conversations can reveal deep truths if you know how to listen. What do they complain about? What excites them? What patterns keep repeating? These are clues, and clues are leverage. On the flip side, Greene advises, protect your own secrets. Don't overshare. Don't confuse friendship with safety. Not everyone who smiles is harmless. Assume others may be watching you the same way you observe them. This law is perfect for negotiation, leadership, and even survival. Those who know more win more. So learn to observe quietly and speak only with purpose. Now ask yourself, are you too quick to trust and share? Or are you calmly gathering insight while others talk themselves into exposure? Chapter 15. Crush your enemy. Totally mercy may sound noble, but in the world of power, half-defeated enemies come back stronger. That's the lesson of Law 15. Greene's message, if you have the chance to eliminate a rival completely, take it. Anything less invites danger. Greene draws from the brutal politics of ancient times. He tells the story of the Roman general Scipio, who defeated Carthage but left the city standing. Years later, Carthage regained strength, and Rome had to return to war, this time to destroy it for good. The second time, they didn't leave anything behind. Why is this so important? Because enemies remember. Even if you forgive them, they rarely forget how close they came to destruction. And that fear turns into resentment. Given the chance, they will strike back. Modern examples are no different. A business rival you humiliate but don't finish might one day win your clients, your market, or your credibility. A political opponent you defeat with compromise may come back with a stronger base and more focused aggression. Greene's point isn't to promote cruelty, it's to emphasize closure. When you take a stand, make it final. When you win, make it clear. If you leave people wondering whether they still have a chance, they'll keep fighting. He also warns against sentiment. Mercy may feel good in the moment, but power isn't built on feelings. It's built on stability, and unfinished enemies create instability. That said, crushing an enemy doesn't always mean public humiliation or destruction. It could mean removing their influence, eliminating their access, or cutting off their options quietly. Power doesn't always need drama. It just needs certainty. Think now. Are there people or problems in your life you've left unresolved? Enemies you've only half defeated? What would it take to end their influence completely? In power, survival means knowing when to end things. Totally. Chapter 16. Use absence to increase respect and honor. Too much presence breeds familiarity, and familiarity, as the saying goes, breeds contempt. In Law 16, Greene tells us that strategic absence, not constant visibility, is the key to respect and power. In the early days of the French court, nobles would crowd around the king every day, trying to stay top of mind. But over time, those who were constantly available were overlooked. It was those who vanished for a while, only to return in style, who captured attention and admiration. Their absence created mystery. Their return created impact. Greene explains that when you're always around, people begin to take you for granted. Your value diminishes not because it's actually lower, but because it's constantly on display. Just like a painting loses impact when stared at daily, your presence loses weight when it's never interrupted. This law isn't about ghosting people or disappearing recklessly. It's about intentional scarcity. Remove yourself at the right time, after a win, during a high note, or when attention is peaking, and your absence becomes a statement. People begin to wonder, where did they go? What are they planning? That curiosity builds prestige. On the flip side, overexposure leads to boredom, irritation, or worse, loss of respect. Think of celebrities who constantly chase the spotlight versus those who appear rarely but command attention when they do. One feels desperate, the other feels powerful. Greene also points out that absence creates space for demand. When people have less access to you, they value the moments they do get. It amplifies your influence when you return and turns your presence into an event. So ask yourself, are you always available, always visible? Or are you leaving just enough space for people to appreciate your presence when it counts most? In power, presence is a tool, but absence, used wisely, is a weapon. Chapter 17. Keep others in suspended terror. Cultivate an air of unpredictability. Predictability is comfort, but comfort weakens control. Law 17 dives into psychological warfare. Greene says, if people can't anticipate your moves, they can't plan against you, so become unpredictable. Human nature craves patterns. When people understand your habits, they grow confident. That confidence turns into assumptions. And once they can predict you, they can control you, or worse, ignore you. Greene shares the story of Mao Zedong, the Chinese revolutionary. Mao would change plans at the last moment, contradict his previous stance, or suddenly shift alliances. His unpredictability kept even his closest allies off balance. That confusion wasn't chaos. It was calculated. It kept him in control. The same strategy works in leadership, negotiation, even personal relationships. When you become known for surprises, people hesitate to cross you. They waste time second-guessing. That hesitation gives you power. Unpredictability also has a psychological edge. It instills fear. People fear what they don't understand. If they never know how you'll react, whether you'll reward or punish, stay or leave, they'll tread carefully. But there's a balance. Being random or erratic isn't the same as being unpredictable. Greene warns that reckless unpredictability destroys trust and damages your credibility. The goal isn't to confuse everyone, it's to keep them alert, cautious, and on edge. Use timing, silence, contradiction, or surprise gestures to disrupt assumptions. Break patterns strategically, not emotionally. Think about this. Do people already know how you'll respond before you open your mouth? Are your habits giving others power over you? Sometimes the strongest move is the one they never see coming. Chapter 18. Do not build fortresses to protect yourself. Isolation is dangerous. When danger surrounds you, the instinct is to retreat, to hide, to build walls. But Greene warns, isolation doesn't protect power, it destroys it. The 18th law is about staying connected, visible, and engaged. Throughout history, rulers and leaders have locked themselves in castles and citadels, thinking distance would keep them safe. Yet, time and time again, isolation made them blind to threats, disconnected from reality, and ultimately vulnerable. One striking example is the fall of the French King Louis XVI. Secluded in Versailles, surrounded by flatterers and courtiers, he was unaware of the growing unrest beyond the palace gates. By the time revolution erupted, it was too late to act. His isolation cost him his crown and his life. Greene emphasizes power thrives on communication, relationships, and intelligence. When you're out in the world, listening, watching, connecting, you gather the information needed to anticipate moves and adapt quickly. Being surrounded by people doesn't mean weakness. It means awareness. Even emperors had spies, advisors, and messengers constantly feeding them news. Fortresses make you feel secure, but they cut off your lifelines. In modern terms, this means showing up, staying involved, being on the ground where deals are made, conversations are had, and shifts begin. Remote leadership, emotional distance, or hiding behind emails weakens your influence over time. Greene also points out that isolation fuels paranoia. When you're alone too long, every shadow looks like a threat. But when you're in motion, in contact, you stay rooted in reality. So instead of hiding from conflict, learn to manage it up close. Instead of avoiding people, master the art of presence. Your power grows not in silence, but in interaction. Ask yourself, are you withdrawing when you should be engaging? Are your walls cutting you off from your next move? Real strength isn't hiding, it's staying connected when others fold. Chapter 19. Know who you're dealing with. Do not offend the wrong person. Not all enemies are created equal. Some forget, some forgive, but others, if provoked, will never stop until they've seen you fall. Law 19 is about understanding the psychology of the people around you and knowing exactly who not to offend. Robert Greene warns us, before you strike, criticize, or challenge someone, study them. What drives them? How do they handle setbacks? Do they act out of ego, emotion, or calculation? Some people, when insulted, will let it slide. Others will wage silent, relentless war. He tells the story of Michael III and Basil the Macedonian again. Basil served Michael loyally until the emperor publicly humiliated him. The offense cut deep. Basil didn't argue. He didn't complain. He waited. Then he assassinated the emperor and took the throne. A single insult ended a reign. There are people who can't tolerate embarrassment. Some who live for revenge. Others who are simply too proud to ever back down. Greene calls these the wrong people. And if you cross them without thinking, you light a fuse you might not be able to put out. So what do you do? First, observe. How do people react under pressure? Do they hold grudges? Are they known for being emotional or vengeful? If so, tread lightly. Don't mistake silence for weakness. Second, be strategic. If someone is powerful, unpredictable, or dangerously insecure, your best move might be diplomacy, not confrontation. You don't have to flatter, but you should avoid unnecessary offense. And if you do choose to challenge someone, make sure you can finish the job. Because starting a fight with the wrong person and failing to win, that's a recipe for disaster. Think now. Who in your world do you underestimate? Who have you offended without fully understanding their nature? In power, psychology matters more than position. Master this law and you'll avoid wars before they begin. Ignore it and you may spark one you can't control. Chapter 20. Do not commit to anyone. In a world full of alliances, loyalties, and promises, Greene's 20th law stands apart. Commit to no one. The more you tie yourself to others, the more you give up your freedom and your power. Greene argues that once you pledge allegiance, you become predictable. You adopt their enemies, their agendas, and their problems. You lose neutrality. But when you stay independent, people compete for your loyalty. You gain leverage. One historical example is Queen Elizabeth I. Throughout her reign, many powerful men and entire nations wanted her hand in marriage. But she never committed. She remained single, dangling the possibility of alliance without ever surrendering control. Her indecision was strategic. It kept suitors hopeful and rival countries guessing. That uncertainty gave her strength. This law isn't about isolation. It's about being a free agent. It means positioning yourself so that others need you, but you don't rely on them. When everyone wants your support but no one owns it, you hold the cards. Greene also warns people will try to force your hand. They'll push you to take sides, sign deals, or declare loyalty. But once you do, your options shrink. Your identity becomes defined by who you've committed to, not what you stand for. Even in personal relationships, staying slightly detached can maintain mystery and respect. Total dependence often leads to imbalance, and eventually, resentment. Of course, this law requires finesse. You can appear disloyal or heartless. The goal is not to betray, but to delay. To stay useful to many without being tied to one. Ask yourself, are your alliances empowering you or limiting you? Have you committed to someone or something that now controls your moves? Power flourishes in independence, and those who refuse to be claimed remain untouchable. Chapter 21. Play a sucker to catch a sucker. Seem dumber than your mark. Appear weak to stay strong. That's the strategy behind Law 21. Greene reveals that the best way to lure someone into a trap is to make them feel superior. Let them underestimate you. Let them think they're in control. Then strike when they least expect it. This law is rooted in ego. People love to feel smarter, more experienced, and more capable than those around them. When you appear too clever, you trigger competition. But when you seem naive, slow, or harmless, you become non-threatening. That's when your opponents relax and reveal their true selves. Greene draws on the story of Count Victor Lustig, one of history's greatest con men. Lustig once sold the Eiffel Tower, twice, by acting like a confused, corrupt official. His marks believed he was too foolish to pose a threat, but by the time they realized the truth, Lustig was long gone with their money. Playing the fool is not about actually being foolish. It's about strategic humility. You lower your profile to raise your position. You let others brag, lead, and expose themselves, while you gather information, gain trust, and prepare your move. This law is especially useful in negotiations, power struggles, or competitive environments. By pretending not to know much, you encourage others to drop their guard. They talk more, they reveal more, and in their confidence, they make mistakes. But Greene warns, don't overdo it. Too much stupidity, and people will genuinely disregard you. The key is subtlety, just enough to invite overconfidence, but not enough to lose credibility. So ask yourself, are you too eager to prove how smart you are? Or could you gain more by holding back and letting others feel like the clever ones? Sometimes the strongest position is pretending not to know you're already winning. Chapter 22. Use the surrender tactic. Transform weakness into power. When you're cornered, your first instinct might be to fight. But Greene offers a surprising alternative: surrender. Not as defeat, but as a tactic. In Law 22, he explains how yielding at the right moment can give you time, position, and unexpected strength. Surrender disarms. It confuses the enemy, and most importantly, it preserves your energy for a later strike. When you fight a battle you can't win, you lose more than ground. You lose dignity, momentum, and options. But if you surrender strategically, you live to fight on your terms. Greene tells the story of General Fabius Maximus of Rome, who refused to face Hannibal in direct battle. Instead, he surrendered ground, dodged open conflict, and delayed endlessly. People called him a coward until Hannibal's forces weakened and Rome gained the upper hand. Fabius didn't win by confrontation, he won by restraint. In modern power games, this tactic still applies. A business leader might yield to a competitor in a small market, only to launch a surprise move in a bigger one. A negotiator might let the other side think they've won, while quietly setting the stage for a better outcome later. The key is control. Surrender doesn't mean submission. It means letting go of the battle to win the war. You don't act out of fear, but out of strategy. And while your enemies celebrate their short-term victory, you prepare your comeback. Greene also points out that surrender makes you unpredictable. Most people expect resistance. When you yield instead, it throws them off. They underestimate you. That underestimation becomes your shield, and eventually, your sword. Ask yourself, are you fighting battles you can't win just to save face? Or are you strong enough to step back now so you can step ahead later? Sometimes the most powerful move is choosing not to move at all. Chapter 23. Concentrate your force's energy is finite. Attention is limited, and success, Greene tells us, belongs to those who focus. Law 23 is all about consolidation, gathering your strength, resources, and time into a single powerful thrust, rather than scattering it across too many fronts. Greene compares power to the sun. When its rays are diffused, they warm. But when concentrated through a magnifying glass, they ignite. That's what focused force can do: set things in motion, break resistance, and accelerate achievement. Historically, this principle was embodied by the Rothschild banking family. Instead of trying to compete with dozens of European firms all at once, they focused on dominating one thing: government bonds. By narrowing their efforts, they became indispensable to monarchs and empires and built a banking dynasty. In business, this law is reflected in the most successful companies. Think of Apple focusing on a small suite of iconic products, or Amazon, which spent years dominating books before expanding. Mastery of one area builds a foundation strong enough to scale. Greene warns that spreading yourself too thin, trying to please everyone, chase every opportunity, or win every battle, dilutes your power. It exhausts you. It creates openings for others. And worst of all, it leads to mediocrity. So concentrate. Choose a target, a goal, a niche, and go all in. Let go of distractions. Say no to what doesn't serve your aim. Be ruthless in your focus. This law also applies to people. Surround yourself with a small, loyal, and capable circle. A large network may seem impressive, but it often comes with drama, distraction, and inefficiency. Strengthen your core, and your influence will radiate from it. Think about your energy right now. Is it focused, or is it scattered across too many fronts? Consolidate and you multiply your power, because in the end, what you concentrate conquers. Chapter 24. Play the perfect courtier. Power is rarely seized, it's granted. And in environments where hierarchy rules, it's the courtier, not the warrior, who rises. In Law 24, Greene teaches us the subtle yet potent art of influence through grace, timing, and charm. The perfect courtier thrives in the shadows of kings, CEOs, and power brokers. They don't challenge authority. They serve it, flatter it, and mold it. But make no mistake, behind their polished exterior is a mind focused on advancement. Greene uses the example of Balthazar Gracian, a 17th century Jesuit priest and writer who codified the principles of courtly behavior. He knew that flattery, patience, and discretion earned more power than direct confrontation. His book, The Art of Worldly Wisdom, is a masterclass in navigating elite spaces. The perfect courtier understands timing. They know when to speak, when to remain silent, when to step forward, and when to vanish. They avoid drama, never outshine the master, and make their superiors feel secure, even adored. In doing so, they become indispensable. In today's world, the modern courtier might be a savvy executive assistant, a right-hand strategist, or a diplomatic manager. They build relationships across departments, resolve conflict before it escalates, and collect influence like currency. Their power grows not from titles, but from access, insight, and trust. Greene warns, though, the courtier's game is subtle. Too much flattery becomes obvious. Too much ambition becomes threatening. The key is to appear loyal and selfless, even if your intentions run deeper. So study your environment. Who holds the power? What do they want? What makes them feel valued? Then position yourself as the one who delivers that. gracefully and consistently. Ask yourself now, are you trying to force power, or are you learning how to be invited into it? In the world of power, the loudest don't always win. Sometimes it's the quietest player, who's already in control. Chapter 25. Recreate yourself. In the game of power, you're not born with identity, you build it. Greene's 25th law is a bold call to action. Become the master of your image, your presence, and your future. Don't accept the roles society hands you. Create the role you were meant to play. History is full of powerful figures who reinvented themselves. One of Greene's most striking examples is Julius Caesar. Born into a modest Roman family, Caesar reinvented himself as a bold general, a populist politician, and eventually a dictator. He wasn't handed power. He sculpted an identity that made people believe he was destined to lead. This law is about liberation. Most people conform. They follow the script written for them by family, culture, or circumstance. But those who rise, they rewrite the script. They craft personas that fit their ambitions, not their past. Greene stresses that appearance matters. The way you walk, talk, dress, and speak shapes how others perceive you. If you want to be taken seriously, carry yourself like someone who demands it. Reinvention begins with behavior and becomes reality through repetition. He also warns against clinging to a single identity. People who never evolve become outdated. If you want to stay relevant, you must keep evolving, personally, professionally, and publicly. In today's digital age, this law is more powerful than ever. Your brand is your weapon. You can curate your presence, control your narrative, and project who you choose to be. You're not stuck. You're sculptable. Ask yourself, are you living someone else's story or rewriting your own? What version of yourself needs to die for the next one to rise? In power, identity is not a prison. It's your playground. Chapter 26. Keep your hands clean. Power often involves dirty work, but that doesn't mean you should look dirty. Greene's 26th law teaches that perception matters more than truth. Let others do the messy work. You, stay spotless. The essence of this law is about shielding your image. You can be ruthless, strategic, and decisive behind the scenes, but publicly your reputation must remain untarnished. People want to believe in clean leaders, honorable winners, and faultless success stories. Give them that illusion. Greene offers the story of Otto von Bismarck. When he needed to eliminate political threats, he didn't do it directly. He let subordinates take the heat. When it went well, Bismarck took credit. When it didn't, he denied involvement. Either way, his hands stayed clean, and his power stayed intact. This law doesn't promote hypocrisy. It promotes distance. Use intermediaries. Let others voice unpopular opinions, execute harsh strategies, or deliver bad news. If backlash comes, you're safely removed. The modern version of this? Business executives who quietly fire staff through HR. Politicians who use spokespersons to break controversial news. Public figures who hire lawyers, managers, or agents to handle things. The face stays polished, even when the strategy behind it is cold. It's not cowardice. It's calculated protection. Your image is a tool. Guard it. Ask yourself, are you risking your reputation by being too hands-on with controversy? Could you get the same results through others while staying above the fray? Because in the power game, sometimes how you win is just as important as the win itself. Chapter 27. Play on people's need to believe to create a cult-like following. People want to believe in something, in someone, in purpose, magic, or destiny. Greene's 27th law reveals how this desire creates opportunity and how you can use it to build loyalty so strong it feels like faith. Throughout history, leaders have risen not just through strategy, but through story. They created movements, not just organizations. Greene shares the example of Charles Manson, An evil man, but a master manipulator. He used symbols, rituals, and promises of salvation to build a following willing to die and kill for him. The lesson here isn't about morality, it's about understanding human nature. People are drawn to those who provide meaning. If you present yourself as the answer to their confusion, the solution to their fears, or the leader of their higher purpose, they will follow you fiercely. To create a cult-like following, Greene outlines key traits. Offer a vision, something bold, exciting, or revolutionary. Be vague with specifics, but passionate in tone. Create rituals, phrases, or symbols that bind people together. Make followers feel chosen, different, or superior. And most importantly, demand loyalty and discourage doubt. Greene isn't telling you to start a literal cult. He's showing you how powerful branding, leadership, and messaging can create unbreakable bonds. Businesses, influencers, and political figures all use this law, consciously or not. Ask yourself, are you offering information or are you offering belief? Are you trying to sell a product or lead a movement? When people believe in you, not just what you do, they'll never want to leave. Chapter 28. Interaction with boldness. Hesitation kills, doubt weakens. Law. 28 is a rally cry. When you move, move boldly. Greene argues that most people fail not because they lack talent, but because they lack the courage to act decisively. Boldness has a magnetism. It draws support, respect, and momentum. People trust those who seem confident, even if they're faking it. Meanwhile, timidity invites scrutiny. It signals weakness, fear, or incompetence. In power games, perception is everything, and boldness always looks better than hesitation. Greene tells the story of Napoleon Bonaparte. He wasn't the most educated general, nor the most experienced, but he acted faster and bolder than his enemies. His daring decisions overwhelmed armies and won loyalty. Even his failures became legends, because he never moved halfway. Boldness also forces others to react. When you strike first, you set the pace. You define the rules. You create the pressure. And when others are stuck wondering what to do, you've already made your move. This law applies far beyond warfare. In business, bold launches grab headlines. In relationships, bold words spark passion. In leadership, bold choices build movements. You might make mistakes, but timid people make irrelevance. Greene makes it clear, boldness doesn't mean recklessness, it means commitment. Once you choose a path, go all in. Half measures drain credibility. Whole moves inspire confidence. So stop waiting for perfect timing. It rarely comes. Power favors the one who acts first, not the one who hesitates last. Ask yourself, are you creeping toward your goals or charging into them? Are you waiting for certainty or betting on your ability to adapt? In the game of power, fortune doesn't just favor the bold, it follows them. Chapter 29. Plan all the way to the end. Short-term wins can feel good, but without a long-term plan, they collapse fast. Greene's 29th law reminds us, the true power player thinks far ahead, planning not just the next move, but the end game. Too many people live reactively. They chase opportunities, respond to problems, and get distracted by drama. But those who plan, they stay in control. They see potential threats before they strike. They avoid surprises by shaping outcomes. Greene cites the example of Hannibal, the great Carthaginian general. His early victories in Italy stunned Rome, but he failed to plan a path to final domination. Rome regrouped and crushed Carthage in the long run. Brilliant tactics weren't enough. Strategy was missing. This law teaches us that without a clear destination, you're vulnerable to detours, distractions, and defeat. You can win battles, but lose the war. That's why you must start with the end in mind. What does success really look like? What happens after the win? Who might turn against you later? What new problems will arise from the power you gain? Greene encourages mapping outcomes, imagining obstacles, and reverse engineering your moves. He also warns, don't get lost in ambition. If your goal requires too many variables or unstable players, it may not be worth pursuing. So ask yourself, do you have a destination or just a direction? Are you chasing glory or designing legacy? In power, foresight is the edge, and the one who sees the end owns the path. Chapter 30. Make your accomplishments seem effortless. People admire results, but they're mesmerized by ease. In Law 30, Greene shows that to maximize your influence, you must make your achievements look natural, even magical. Struggle in silence, shine in public. We live in a world where effort often gets dismissed. When you show how hard you tried, you risk looking desperate. But when you succeed and make it look effortless, you seem gifted, destined, untouchable. Greene references historical figures like Balzac and Leonardo da Vinci, who concealed their intense effort and research beneath a calm, composed exterior. They didn't flaunt their grind, they performed their brilliance. This law is also about hiding your methods. If people see your process, they can replicate it. But if you only show the polished product, they remain in awe. They assume it's talent, genius, or divine inspiration. Think of the great magician. The trick may take years to master, but the audience sees only a moment of wonder. That illusion protects the craft and elevates the performer. In your own journey, work tirelessly behind the scenes. Practice obsessively, plan obsessively, but when the moment comes to deliver, do it with ease. Let others believe it came naturally. Greene warns, never boast about the difficulty of what you do. Let others talk about how amazed they are, while you remain calm and modest. Ask yourself, are you drawing attention to your grind or to your grace? Do people see effort or elegance? Because in the realm of power, mystery beats method, and mastery appears effortless. Chapter 31. Control the options. Get others to play with the cards. You deal power is about control, not just over people, but over the choices they think they have. Greene's 31st law teaches us to shape the playing field so thoroughly that others are only choosing between your preferred outcomes. This isn't about forcing people. It's about illusion. You give them a sense of freedom while subtly limiting their options. The result? They feel in control, even as they move exactly where you want them. Greene shares a classic tactic used by generals and politicians, the false dilemma. You present two paths, one terrible, the other the one you want them to choose. They'll pick the lesser evil, thinking it was their decision all along. Catherine de' Medici mastered this technique. When she wanted her son to marry into a powerful family, she offered him a limited pool of noblewomen, all from families that would secure her influence. Her son felt he had a say. Catherine got what she wanted. In business, salespeople use this constantly. Would you like to pay monthly or annually? Either way, you're buying. The real decision was made for you. This law is about framing. If people only see the options you've pre-selected, you win no matter what they choose. It also helps in negotiation. Offer terms that favor you regardless of which one your opponent picks. But Greene warns, don't overplay it. If people feel manipulated, they rebel. The illusion must hold. They must believe they chose freely. Ask yourself, in your current situation, are you reacting to others' options or designing your own? Can you reframe the choices to pull people your way? Because true power lies not just in leading, but in letting others think they're leading themselves. Chapter 32. Play to people's fantasies. Reality is harsh. Truth is boring. That's why people crave escape. And Greene's 32nd law shows how powerful it is to feed that craving. Don't sell reality, sell dreams. Throughout history, the most influential leaders, prophets, and marketers haven't just offered products or plans, they offered visions. Think of ancient rulers claiming divine favor, or modern brands promising transformation. The best power players speak not to logic, but to longing. Greene uses the story of the self-proclaimed Dr. Cagliostro, who dazzled 18th century France with promises of eternal youth and secret rituals. His followers were wealthy, educated, and desperate to believe. Cagliostro gave them wonder. They gave him loyalty. This law isn't about lying, it's about elevating. Facts rarely move people. Emotions do. If you want influence, you must paint pictures of what could be a better life, a better self, a hidden truth they alone can access. In relationships, in leadership, in business, those who create compelling visions attract followers. People want to believe in magic, destiny, and greatness. And if you don't supply the fantasy, someone else will. Greene warns, never try to destroy people's illusions. That only makes them resent you. Instead, wrap your ideas in beauty. Give them hope. Make them feel chosen. Ask yourself, are you trying to impress with logic or inspire with vision? What fantasy can you offer that speaks to people's deeper desires? Because in the end, reality gets ignored. But the dream? That's what moves the world. Chapter 33. Discover each man's thumbscrew. Everyone has a weakness, a hidden need, fear, desire, or insecurity. Law 33 teaches that if you can find it, you control the person. Greene calls this the thumbscrew. It's the pressure point that bends people to your will. And it's different for everyone. For one, it might be vanity. For another, fear of failure. For someone else, an unresolved childhood wound. Power comes from identifying it and using it wisely. The process starts with observation. What makes someone overly excited, defensive, or quiet? What do they return to in conversation? What do they try to hide or prove? These are clues. People reveal their thumbscrews through emotions, not words. Greene shares how Cardinal Richelieu would assign spies to gather personal details on his rivals, not for blackmail, but for control. Knowing someone's secrets meant Richelieu could influence them silently. In modern life, this isn't just about manipulation, it's about influence. Want to win a negotiation? Know what your opponent truly values. Want to motivate a team? Know what each member fears or aspires to. Influence isn't one size fits all. It's custom tailored. Greene warns, don't push too hard. Once you find a person's weakness, use it sparingly. If they feel exposed or exploited, they'll fight back or shut down. The goal isn't domination, it's direction. Ask yourself, do you know what truly moves the people around you? Have you been looking beyond the surface to understand the core? Because when you find someone's thumbscrew, you hold the key to their decisions. Chapter 34. Be royal in your own fashion. Act like a king to be treated like one. How you carry yourself sets the tone for how others treat you. In Law 34, Greene insists, act with regal confidence, even before the crown is on your head, and others will treat you like royalty. This law is all about self-respect. If you present yourself as someone worthy of respect, people will mirror that. But if you doubt your value, if you shrink yourself to please others, they'll see you as lesser, whether you deserve that or not. Greene recalls the story of Christopher Columbus. He came from modest beginnings, but demanded and received audiences with kings and queens. He spoke with such bold belief in his mission that royalty funded him, and history remembered him. He didn't wait for status. He claimed it. Your behavior broadcasts your worth. Speak with calm certainty. Set clear boundaries. Make decisions like someone who expects to be followed. When you demand respect through presence, not force, people comply naturally. This law doesn't require arrogance. It requires composure. Regal behavior isn't loud. It's deliberate. It's unbothered by slights. It doesn't chase. It draws others in. Greene warns, never beg. The moment you lower yourself to plead or prove, you give your power away. Even if you don't feel powerful, act as though you do. People believe what you project. Ask yourself, are you showing people how to respect you or how to dismiss you? Because the world will treat you like a king. the moment you start acting like one. Chapter 35. Master the art of timing. Power isn't just about what you do, it's about when you do it. In Law 35, Greene urges us to master time like a weapon. The right move at the wrong moment? Still failure. Greene emphasizes patience. Most people rush. They act out of impulse, emotion, or anxiety. But power players wait. They study the rhythm. They strike only when conditions are ripe. He highlights the story of Napoleon, who would delay action until he sensed the precise moment the enemy's position was weakest. His timing created the illusion of invincibility. Great timing is part observation, part intuition. It requires stepping back from chaos to watch patterns form. When you understand the flow of events, you can anticipate openings before others even see them. Greene also warns against hesitation. Waiting too long is as dangerous as acting too soon. The goal isn't to delay, it's to act with precision. In negotiation, in confrontation, in strategy, timing can tip the entire game. Launch a product too early and the market isn't ready. Argue too soon and emotions cloud logic. But when the time is right, one move does the work of 10. Ask yourself, are you reacting or waiting for the perfect moment to lead? Because in the power game, the clock isn't your enemy. It's your tool. Chapter 36. Disdain. Things you cannot have. Ignoring them is the best revenge. Desire is weakness, especially when it's obvious. Greene's 36th law teaches a painful truth. When something is out of reach, show no interest. Obsession gives others control. Indifference keeps you free. The more you chase, the more powerful the thing you're chasing becomes. The more you talk about a rival, a lost opportunity, or an insult, you validate it. But when you act like it doesn't matter, you steal its power. Greene uses the example of a nobleman who was denied access to a royal court. Rather than beg, he pretended disinterest and threw lavish parties of his own. Soon, the court began to miss him. His indifference became magnetic. In modern life, this applies to everything, from business deals to relationships. Don't dwell on the client you lost. Don't obsess over the one critic. Don't compete where you're not wanted. Focus your energy where it grows. Let go with grace. This isn't surrender, it's strategy. When you ignore what you can't have, it often comes back. And even if it doesn't, you've kept your dignity. Greene warns, never give the enemy the satisfaction of seeing your pain. If you must walk away, do it like it was your choice. That illusion is power. Ask yourself, are you holding on to something that's holding you back? Because in power, what you ignore fades. What you obsess over owns you. Chapter 37. Create compelling spectacles. People are moved by what they see. Greene's 37th law is clear. Dazzle them. Visuals create emotion. Emotion builds belief. And belief generates power. Throughout history, rulers and leaders have used spectacle to strengthen their aura. Louis XIV staged daily rituals at Versailles to reinforce his godlike image. The effect? Nobles competed just to watch him dress. Power disguised as routine. Greene explains that when your actions are dramatic, symbolic, or beautiful, they stick. Logic fades, memory stays. A leader who makes people feel becomes unforgettable. In modern times, think of Steve Jobs unveiling the first iPhone. It wasn't just a product launch, it was theater. Lights, silence, then revelation. That moment shaped a decade. This law doesn't mean faking it. It means packaging your power. Use imagery, storytelling, staging, and surprise. The mind craves symbols more than spreadsheets. Greene warns, if your presence lacks drama, others will fill the void. Media, gossip, competitors, they'll write your story for you. Spectacle lets you control the narrative. Ask yourself, are you just delivering value or also delivering vision? Because in the age of noise, the spectacular still wins. Chapter 38. Think as you like, but behave like others. Power often requires camouflage. Greene's 38th law advises, keep your thoughts private, but blend in publicly. Those who appear too different, too fast, or too bold often provoke fear, not admiration. Greene recalls Socrates, whose relentless questioning threatened the social order of Athens. His thoughts were sharp, but his defiance got him sentenced to death. The lesson? Revolutionary ideas must sometimes wear quiet clothes. This isn't about hiding who you are, it's about strategy. When your ideas challenge norms, introduce them subtly, build alliances, normalize change before you demand it. In business, it's the intrapreneur who innovates within the system while respecting its culture who succeeds. In politics, it's the outsider who gains trust before disrupting. Even in friendships, bold truths are easier to digest when wrapped in familiar behavior. Greene isn't asking for conformity. He's teaching patience. The world resists what it doesn't understand. But if you speak their language, then shift the meaning, you lead without resistance. Ask yourself, are your actions attracting unnecessary resistance? Or are you playing the long game of quiet influence? Because transformation happens best when no one sees it coming. Chapter 39. Stir up waters to catch fish. In Law 39, Greene offers a psychological weapon, chaos. If you can unbalance your opponent emotionally or mentally, you gain control. Angry people make mistakes. Calm people manipulate outcomes. This law is about disruption. Greene references the strategist Zhuge Liang, who lured enemies into irrational actions with provocation and trickery. The pattern? Agitate, wait, then strike. In modern life, think of competitors who react too emotionally to criticism, leaders who lose composure under pressure, clients who implode when challenged. Once emotional, their judgment blurs, and your influence sharpens. Greene encourages you to remain a still surface. The calmer you stay, the more clearly you see. Meanwhile, if you can poke your rival's ego, delay their timeline, or confuse their process, you stir the waters. But this law isn't about cruelty, it's about composure. Don't attack with emotion, use strategy. Your enemy's reaction becomes your advantage. Ask yourself, who's setting the emotional tone, me or them? Because the storm you create reveals what others are hiding. Chapter 40. Despise the free lunch. Nothing in life is truly free. Greene's 40th law warns, what comes without cost often carries hidden strings. Free gifts may flatter, but they bind. If you want to stay powerful, pay your own way. Throughout history, kings, nobles, and rulers have known that accepting gifts creates obligation. When you take something for free, the giver expects loyalty, gratitude, or submission. Even in friendships or business, freebies can come with agendas. Greene highlights the story of financier J.P. Morgan. He rejected a gifted investment opportunity simply because it was too generous. He understood that independence matters more than opportunity. Power thrives when you're not beholden. In modern times, think of free trials, free advice, or too good to be true deals. Often they're bait. The wise person questions what's behind the generosity. This law encourages self-sufficiency. It's not about pride, it's about protection. Paying your own way lets you choose freely. Dependence weakens decision-making. Greene also suggests that offering gifts can be a power move. When you pay, you gain influence. So flip the equation. Give, but be wary when receiving. Ask yourself, are you accepting things that cost more in reputation than in money? Because in power, the most expensive thing is the one that comes for free. Chapter 41. Avoid stepping into a great man's shoes. Big shoes often come with big shadows. Greene's 41st law reminds us that following a legend can doom your success, unless you break away and redefine the path. When you replace someone great, comparisons are inevitable. Even if you succeed, you may never escape their legacy. People will look for flaws, differences, or signs you're not as good. Greene shares the example of Alexander the Great, who followed in the footsteps of his father, King Philip II. But Alexander didn't imitate. He expanded, transformed, and ultimately eclipsed his father's legacy. He didn't walk in the same shoes. He built a new empire. The lesson? Don't replicate greatness. Reimagine it. Create your own traditions, your own story, your own style. In business, don't just maintain what your predecessor built. Innovate. In family, don't try to live up to others. Forge your own version of success. In leadership, respect the past, but never live in it. Greene warns, if you cling too tightly to legacy, you trap yourself in someone else's identity. Ask yourself, are you honoring the past or hiding behind it? Because in power, the future belongs to those bold enough to leave history behind. Chapter 42. Strike the shepherd and the sheep will scatter. Crowds don't move on their own. Greene's 42nd law reveals that behind every group lies a leader. If you want to break the group, remove the head. This law is about focus. When you face resistance, rebellion, or conflict, don't waste energy arguing with everyone. Find the influencer, the instigator, the one others listen to. Then strike. Greene gives the example of labor strikes, where cutting off negotiations with a union spokesperson breaks the group's morale, or medieval rulers who crushed revolts by executing the ringleader, not the crowd. It's a strategic move. By removing the guiding voice, you create confusion. The rest often fall apart or seek a new direction, one you can control. This applies in business, politics, even personal life. If a team underperforms, is it one bad apple? If rumors spread, who started them? Identify the source before reacting to the noise. Greene warns, be sure. Striking the wrong person creates backlash. But when you get it right, the effect is immediate and lasting. Ask yourself, am I treating symptoms or cutting out the root? Because in power, when the leader falls, the followers lose their way. Chapter 43. Work on the hearts and minds of others. Greene's 43rd law dives into deeper persuasion. Win people emotionally, not just strategically. Force may get compliance, but winning hearts and minds brings lasting influence. This law is about connection. When people feel seen, respected, or emotionally understood, they're more likely to support you. But when they feel manipulated or used, they resist, sometimes in quiet, destructive ways. Greene shares the story of Emperor Meiji of Japan. After seizing power, instead of ruling with an iron fist, he honored traditional leaders, listened to local voices, and blended modern reforms with cultural respect. By appealing to the pride and identity of the people, he united a fractured nation. Whether in business, politics, or relationships, people follow those who make them feel good about themselves. Praise, empathy, small gestures of loyalty, these open emotional doors logic alone cannot. But Greene warns, don't fake it. Flattery feels hollow if insincere. You must genuinely understand what people value and speak to it. Ask yourself, am I aiming for obedience or loyalty? Because in the long game of power, hearts build empires faster than threats. Chapter 44. Disarm and infuriate with the mirror effect. Want to confuse, unsettle, or control someone? Reflect them. Greene's 44th law introduces the mirror effect. Imitate your opponent's behavior so subtly or directly that they lose control. People don't like seeing themselves, especially their flaws, reflected back. Mimicking speech, body language, or tactics disrupts their rhythm. It throws them off emotionally and mentally. The mirror becomes a weapon. Greene references Narcissus from mythology, captivated and destroyed by his own reflection. That's the effect mirroring can have when used well. It turns ego against itself. This law works in both conflict and persuasion. In negotiation, mirroring someone's words creates rapport. In rivalry, copying someone's tactics frustrates them. In manipulation, reflecting someone's energy exposes their intentions. But Greene warns, use this power subtly. Obvious mirroring becomes mockery. The goal is to confuse, not to provoke outright. Ask yourself, can I neutralize this person by becoming their reflection? Because in power, the clearest mirror reveals the deepest cracks. Chapter 45. Preach the need for change, but never reform. Too much at once. Change is necessary, but change too fast, and you trigger fear. Greene's 45th law teaches a delicate balance. Move forward slowly, wrapping reform in tradition. Revolutionaries often fail because they tear down everything. But successful changemakers know people cling to the familiar, even when it no longer serves them. They introduce transformation in small doses, cloaked in language and symbols people already trust. Greene uses the example of Octavian, later Augustus, who overthrew Rome's republic, but framed his rule as a return to old virtues. The people accepted a dictator because he restored traditions while quietly reinventing power. In business, politics, or movements, don't sell change as new. Sell it as evolution. Use legacy as your disguise. Greene warns, never insult what people used to believe in. It creates resistance. Instead, link your ideas to something sacred or nostalgic. Rebrand progress as protection. Ask yourself, am I rushing change or blending it into what people already love? Because in power, the slowest revolution is often the most permanent. Chapter 46. Never appear too perfect. Perfection breeds envy. Greene's 46th law reminds us that being too flawless creates enemies. If people see you as untouchable, they won't admire you. They'll resent you. Throughout history, the fall of great leaders often came from jealousy, not failure. When you shine too brightly, you cast others in shadow, and they notice. Greene references the Greek hero Achilles. He was invincible except for his heel. That flaw made him human, relatable, and fascinating. The same applies to modern power players. A small mistake, a visible flaw, or a shared insecurity makes you seem more approachable, even likable. This law is about balance. Don't flaunt perfection. Share struggles selectively. Allow minor errors to show you're human. Let others win occasionally. Show vulnerability where it builds trust, not weakness. Greene warns, if you seem too superior, people will wait for your downfall. But if they see you as gifted and grounded, they'll support your rise. Ask yourself, are you inspiring others or intimidating them into silence? Because in power, it's not your strengths, but your humanness that draws loyalty. Chapter 47. Do not go past the mark you aimed for. In victory, learn when to stop. Success is seductive. When you win, it's tempting to keep going. But Greene's 47th law cautions, know when to stop. Push too far, and you lose everything you just gained. This law is about restraint. History is full of leaders who overreached. Napoleon conquered most of Europe, then tried to take Russia. That move led to his defeat. Greene teaches that victory changes the game. What got you there may not keep you there. After a win, people notice you more. Rivals grow sharper. Allies expect more. The risks increase. So after success, pause, reflect, consolidate, enjoy the win, make it last. Resist the urge to chase more glory when the stakes have changed. Greene also warns, don't let ego steer the ship. Pride often turns wins into disasters. Ask yourself, have I achieved my goal or am I chasing a feeling? Because in power, knowing when to stop is just as important as knowing how to start. Chapter 48. Assume formlessness. Greene's final law is the most fluid. Be shapeless, formless, like water. The moment you become fixed, you become vulnerable. Rigidity invites attack. Adaptability creates longevity. Formlessness means staying flexible in identity, strategy, and presentation. Don't let others define you. Don't lock yourself into roles or routines. Evolve as the situation requires. Greene cites Bruce Lee, who said, "Be water, my friend." Water flows around obstacles. It changes form to fit the environment, yet it wears down mountains. In a changing world, this is essential. technology, politics, culture, everything moves fast. Those who cling to old ways fall behind, but those who adapt survive and thrive. Formlessness also protects you from predictability. If no one can pin down your next move, you stay in control. Surprise becomes your strength. Ask yourself, where am I too rigid? Where do I need to flow instead of fight? Because in power, the most unstoppable force is the one that never stops changing. And there you have it, the complete journey through the 48 laws of power. Some laws may feel uncomfortable, others eye-opening. But one thing is certain, power is everywhere, in relationships, careers, influence, and legacy. Robert Greene doesn't tell us what's right or wrong. He shows us how the world really works and leaves it to us to choose how to use that power, wisely, strategically, responsibly. If this breakdown helped you see things more clearly, make sure to like the video and drop your favorite law in the comments. I want to know which one hit hardest for you. And if you're someone who wants to build power, not just understand it, check out the Entrepreneur's Launch Kit, a practical guide to making your first $10,000. It's filled with step-by-step tutorials on building a brand, growing an audience, launching digital products, even starting an AI agency with $0. People are hitting 5 figures in weeks, and you can too. The link is in the description, bio, and pinned comment. Until next time, stay sharp, stay strategic, and remember, power favors the prepared. This is Zuzu, the book reader, signing off.